It was one of those rainy Tuesday afternoons where the world feels heavy with secrets, each drop of water an echo of the lies I had been drowning in for months. I sat cross-legged on my bed, the familiar scent of my lavender-scented candles mingling with the cold, metallic smell of the city outside. As I stared at my phone, the screen lit up with another message from him, all sweet emojis and claims of devotion, my heart twisted into knots. His name was Jake, a name that once made my heart flutter but now made my stomach turn. We had been together for 2 years, each moment shared a tapestry woven with laughter, stolen kisses, and whispered dreams. But it was in those quiet moments, when the laughter faded and the silence settled in, that I began to sense something was amiss. I had seen the way he looked at his phone, his face lighting up with a smile that wasn't meant for me, how he'd pull away just enough to keep me guessing. My gut told me what my heart refused to acknowledge: Jake was cheating. My best friend, Sarah, had been the first to plant that seed of doubt in my mind, her voice laced with concern as she recounted her own experiences of betrayal. "Trust your instincts, don't ignore the signs," she implored. Her words echoed in my mind like a haunting melody, growing louder as days turned into weeks. I had wanted to confront him, to demand answers, but fear held me captive like a prisoner in my own heart. What if I was wrong? The thought of losing him terrified me beyond belief. And so, I chose a different path, one lined with cunning and strategy. If he wanted to play a game of deception, I would become the master player. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins as I hatched my plan, a sickening mix of dread and determination swelling inside me like a storm ready to burst. I set out to create a series of fake dates, carefully staged encounters that would unravel the threads of his lies, revealing the truth hidden beneath his charming facade. In those moments of plotting, the world around me blurred, the raindrops outside mirroring the tumult within. I had become a puppet master, fingers poised over strings of deceit, ready to pull them taut. My heart raced at the thought of each carefully orchestrated scenario, the impending satisfaction of seeing his world turn upside down. No longer would I be the one left in the shadows, waiting for scraps of affection. I was ready to expose his betrayal, no matter the cost. But as I prepared to take those first steps into my dark plan, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that revenge carries its own price, one I wasn't sure I was ready to pay. The days leading up to that fateful moment were torturous, each one dragging on like a slow, suffocating embrace. I had set the stage for Jake's downfall, but with every tick of the clock, a part of me faltered. Doubt crept in like an unwelcome intruder, gnawing at my resolve. Was I really ready for this? Yet there was a moment, a single interaction, that cemented my decision. It was a Saturday evening when he'd invited me to his place, his voice wrapping around me like a warm blanket. We had spent most of the day laughing, our playful banter flowing easily, but lurking beneath the surface was an unease I couldn't shake off. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across his living room, I caught a glimpse of his phone, sitting innocently on the coffee table, screen lit up. It was a notification, a message from someone named Lily. Just as my heart sank into my stomach, he casually reached for it, his fingers brushing against the screen in a way that felt too protective, too secretive. My pulse quickened, and I felt a sudden rush of nausea. "Who's Lily?" I asked, my voice trembling as I tried to maintain a facade of nonchalance. He laughed, a light, airy sound that felt like cold water splashed in my face. "Just a friend from work. You know how it is, right?" He said it so casually, as if his words were meant to soothe, but it only turned my stomach further. "You're the only one I care about." Those words hung in the air like a cruel joke. My heart screamed for clarity, but my mind wrestled with disbelief. Who was Lily? Why did he need to shield this friend from me? My thoughts collided in a whirlwind of confusion, each one fueled by a cocktail of betrayal and heartache. Waking up the next morning, I felt like a stranger in my own skin. The light that usually warmed our shared moments had darkened, casting a pall over my thoughts. I spiraled down an emotional abyss, replaying his laughter, his touch, the way he'd looked at me. It all felt like a carefully crafted facade, and my heart, so eager to believe in love, was now battling overwhelming anger. I turned to Sarah, my confidant, my rock amidst the storm. Over lattes at our favorite cafe, I poured out my pain, my fears, and the unsettling dread that gnawed at me. I just want the truth, Sarah. I can't keep living like this, wondering if I'm just a backup plan. Her eyes softened with empathy, but I noticed the flicker of something else, encouragement. You deserve to know, and if he's lying, you need to show him the consequences. You have to be bold enough to uncover the truth. Those words ignited a spark within me, an awakening of sorts. It was a call to arms, a reminder that I was not powerless. I could take control of this situation, flipping the script in a way he never saw coming. The thought of deception became less about revenge and more about liberation, a release from the chains of uncertainty that had bound me for so long. It was that same night that I mapped out my first encounter, a blind date set up with a perfect girl I'd found on social media, someone who looked just enough like me to stir confusion and suspicion. I crafted the message so carefully, making sure it would pop up at the right moment. I imagined him sitting at a bar, glancing at his phone with casual excitement, only to be hit with the shocking realization that I was no longer the only one in his orbit. I wanted him to feel the uncertainty I had endured for so long, the gnawing anxiety of wondering if your partner's affection was genuine or merely a performance. But the energy I had poured into my plan quickly spiraled into something darker. As I executed my first setup, I watched from a distance, my heart racing and mind swirling with anticipation. I had arranged for Jake to be at that bar with his friends when the date was supposed to happen. I imagined seeing his face when he received the message, the moment his carefree laughter would falter into disbelief. But instead of satisfaction, I was gripped by an icy dread. What if he truly loved me? What if this pushed him away permanently? The evening came, the bar buzzing with laughter and chatter, and I stood in the shadows, heart pounding as I watched him. The seconds felt like hours as I witnessed his friends egg him on to check his phone. He laughed boisterously, not knowing that the joke was about to be on him. The moment arrived, he pulled out his phone, and I held my breath, anticipation tearing through me. When he read the message, an innocuous but suggestive text meant to spark his curiosity, I saw the flicker of confusion, then the unmistakable spark of intrigue in his eyes. I was shaking with adrenaline, but a tide of guilt washed over me. I was doing this to expose his lies. Why did it feel like I was cracking open my own heart instead? Suddenly, the joy in my scheme turned bitter. Instead of confronting him with the truth, I was reduced to a mere spectator, watching as he responded with excitement. He typed back, and I could see the way his face lit up with flirtation. My heart sank again, this time deeper than before. The laughter of his friends bounced around me, but I felt utterly isolated, a ghost among the living, trapped in my own twisted game. Over the next couple of weeks, each fake date led to an avalanche of emotions. I carefully orchestrated several setups, each one designed to push Jake closer to the brink of discovery. But with every encounter I facilitated, the weight of my guilt became heavier. I felt like a puppet master entrapped by my own strings, the joy of revenge quickly morphing into an addiction I couldn't control. Then, everything imploded one evening when I received a message from Sarah. It was late, and the ominous tone of her text sent shivers down my spine. "We need to talk. It's about Jake." My heart raced, and I felt the familiar sense of dread return. It appeared he didn't just keep secrets from me, he had secrets from everyone. Sarah had seen him, the real Jake, out with someone else, someone who wasn't part of my cruel game. I confronted her immediately, her words crashing over me like waves. "He was with that girl, Lily," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief. I thought I was imagining things, but I saw them together at the new Italian place. They looked close. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. The very foundation of my revenge was now a foundation of lies. I had become so lost in orchestrating his downfall that I had overlooked the truth, the very thing I sought to uncover. I had unwittingly turned into a mirror of the deceit I loathed. The next day was a blur of heartache and anger. How could I have thought this would make me feel better? I could barely breathe as I sat in my car, parked just a few blocks away from Jake's apartment, the weight of my phone crushing against my palm. The shrill ring of Sarah's voice replayed in my head, amplifying the chaos inside me as I tried to comprehend what she had just shared. "He was with that girl, Lily," echoed like a warning bell, and in that moment, everything shifted. The carefully woven web of my revenge, once feeling like justice, now tangled into a choking net around my own heart. I stared blankly at the screen, the glow illuminating the contours of my face, which felt increasingly like a stranger. I had believed I was in control, but now I realized I had become a participant in an emotional game I never wanted to play. I had set up my fake dates as a preemptive strike against betrayal, yet in doing so, I'd only mirrored Jake's own deceit. My mind raced back to the countless hours spent crafting messages, picking names, and conjuring fake personas. I had taken pleasure in imagining his face when he realized what was happening, but now all I could picture was the hurt I was inflicting. What would a part of me become if I went through with this? With bated breath, I pulled up my messages, scrolling through the fake conversations I had orchestrated, the excitement of each date now tinged with an unsettling bitterness. As I contemplated deleting the whole charade, my heart thundered in my chest, a symphony of doubt and fear playing in perfect discord. What would happen if I pulled back now? Would he slide further into the arms of that lily, creating an even deeper rift between us? Then it hit me like a punch to the gut. I was losing sight of the real betrayal, the truth. I had wanted to expose him, to drag his lies into the light, but I had become ensnared in my own duplicity. I was no better than the man I was trying to dethrone. I had made myself a villain in my own story, and it was suffocating. My hands trembled as I gripped the steering wheel. In that moment of clarity that cut through the fog of anger and betrayal, I realized I needed to confront him, not with a trap or a scheme, but with honesty. I pictured his face, the easy grin that had once brightened my world, and the laughter that felt so distant now. I missed him, the real him, and the idea that I was willing to destroy that made my stomach churn. But before I could convince myself of this new path, I glanced down and saw a notification on my phone, a message from Jake. My breath hitched. Did he know? Was this the moment everything would unravel? I swiped to open the message, my heart racing, only to find it was a simple, innocuous text. Hey babe, can we talk later? I need to clear some things up. The words sat heavily in the air, and suddenly, I was gripped by a chilling sense of urgency, a fear that perhaps he was about to confess something that would shatter my already fragile heart. I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood, the sweet irony of that familiar pain racing through me. Was this the moment I had been waiting for, or was it the prelude to a deeper betrayal? That suffocating feeling returned as I processed everything. I had orchestrated layers of deception, but I realized I was the one trapped. My fingers hovered over my phone, torn between fear and resolve. Did I want to continue? As I sat in my car, the chaos of conflicting emotions swirling in my mind, I resolved to move forward. I had initially set out to expose Jake's betrayals, but now I felt a new clarity forming around my original intentions. I was done being the one bewildered by uncertainty. I would execute my revenge, not to destroy him, but to reclaim my own sense of agency and clarity. With determination hardened by the fear of losing myself in my own deceptions, I sketched out a clever plan to stage one final fake date that would lay bare Jake's true character, while simultaneously showing him the consequences of his actions. This time, I would not just sit back and observe, I would be the architect of my own empowerment. Step 1. Develop the setup. I had already established a few dates that I had set up, each one designed to elicit a reaction from Jake, but this would be the grand finale. I decided to recruit an accomplice, someone who could play the part of the supposed new girlfriend convincingly. That's when I thought of Mia, a mutual friend who had a flair for drama and an understanding of my situation. I reached out to her, explaining everything in detail, and to my relief, she was eager to help. Step 2. Craft the illusion. Mia and I brainstormed a backstory. She would create a social media profile, a cute, outgoing girl named Sophie who just moved to the city and was looking for someone to show her around. Together, we crafted a series of flirty messages, peppered with laughter and shared interests, that would lead Jake to believe that he had stumbled into something exciting and new. I even had Mia send Jake a picture of herself in a cute cafe, casually mentioning how much she liked the same coffee he loved. The more familiar she seemed, the more real it would feel to him. Step 3. Set the date. We agreed on a public place for the encounter. A trendy bar downtown, where Jake and his friends often hung out. I wanted him to see for himself what it felt like to be on the other side of the equation. Mia sent Jake a message inviting him out for drinks, and to my quiet satisfaction, his excitement was palpable. It was as if I could feel his eagerness through the screen. Step 4, the reveal. On the night of the setup, Jake strolled into the bar with his usual bravado, dressed in his casual best, and I quietly positioned myself at a table across the room. My heart raced, not with revenge but with anxiety. What if he didn't take the bait? What if he just brushed it off? My palms were sweaty as I watched him scan the room for this Sophie character, clearly intrigued by the mystery. Mia arrived shortly thereafter, the perfect picture of brightness and charm. She smiled at Jake, and I could see the initial spark of attraction flicker in his eyes. They exchanged pleasantries and began to chat, and with each minute that passed, I felt a mixture of satisfaction and dread. This was the moment he would realize the weight of his actions. Step 5, the confrontation. As the evening wore on, I had orchestrated an unexpected twist. I had confided in another friend, Tom, about my plan, and he agreed to drop by the bar to casually check in on me. He was the perfect wrench in the gears of Jake's deception. As Tom entered and waved at me, I caught Jake's eye, and the realization hit him like a freight climax. Jake's laughter echoed in the dimly lit bar, a sound that once filled me with warmth. Now, it clawed at my insides, grating against the reality I could no longer ignore. I shifted in my seat, my heart pounding as I watched him lean in closer to Mia, his eyes sparkling with mischief. They were building a connection, and with every shared joke, I felt the walls I had erected around my heart begin to crumble. But I had a plan. I inhaled deeply, grounding myself as I leaned into the moment. This was the climax of my revenge. I had to see it through. Tom's presence became my anchor. He approached our table, and I could see Jake's gaze shift. The realization dawned. He knew Tom, and as he pieced together our connection, the smile on his face faltered. The air in the bar felt electric, charged with unsaid words and raw emotions. "Hey, I didn't know you were here," Tom said, his tone casual, but his eyes scanning the situation with sharp precision. Mia took the cue and introduced herself, but Jake's expression was a mask of confusion. "Wait, you know her?" He directed the question at Tom, his voice edged with uncertainty. "Yeah, we go way back," Tom replied smoothly, giving me a quick glance as if to say, "Are you ready for this?" Time slowed. I leaned forward, my pulse racing, heart thrumming in my ears like a war drum. I could see the gears turning in Jake's mind, the realization of something slipping out of his grasp. He was on the precipice of understanding. I could feel it. Suddenly, I stood up, my decision igniting my veins with fury and clarity. "Jake, we need to talk." My voice rang out, slicing through the chatter of the bar. Heads turned, and the laughter dimmed to a hush. Jake's jaw tightened as he faced me, surprise morphing into wariness. "What are you doing here?" he asked, a hint of impatience lacing his words. It was a question brimming with pretense, a thin veil over the truth that lingered just beneath the surface. "Is that so?" I shot back, locking my gaze onto his, daring him to look away. The heat of the moment surrounded us as I took a step closer, feeling the weight of every shared memory pressing against my chest. "You don't think I would let you embarrass me without a word, do you?" His expression shifted, a flash of panic crossing his features as he glanced at Mia. The tension was suffocating, a thick fog of realization that hung heavy between us. Every secret, every lie we crafted, now spiraled into the air like a plume of smoke, dissipating slowly but surely. "Wait, what do you mean?" he stammered, his bravado faltering as confusion danced in his eyes. I couldn't hold back the bitterness that seeped into my tone. "You thought you could have it all, didn't you? While I was sitting at home, wondering if you were actually mine? This is your chance to come clean, Jake. Because if you think you can just waltz away from this with a pretty smile while I'm left in the dark, you're mistaken." Mia caught on, and without skipping a beat, she added, "You're right, Jake. We were just talking about how little we know about you." Her voice dripped with false innocence, a light-hearted jab that cut deeper than any knife. Jake's expression shifted from confusion to panic, his eyes darting back and forth between Mia and me as if we were two predators ready to pounce. Denial flickered across his features like a candle caught in a gust of wind. "This is ridiculous," he said, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Ridiculous? You're the one who's been playing games." I felt a surge of power in speaking my truth, exposure transforming the weight of my anguish into something more bearable. "You've been caught between your lies and my reality. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Or did you think I wouldn't care?" The atmosphere in the bar had thickened, whispers floated around us like a fog, all eyes riveted to our confrontation. Time seemed suspended in that moment, and a sensory overload washed over me, the faint clinking of glasses, the vibrant laughter of strangers, and the palpable tension that hung between us like a storm cloud waiting to burst. I stood firm, my heartbeat steadying as I glared at him, determined not to let his bravado rattle me. "You've made your choice, Jake. While you enjoyed flirting with your little friends, I was building a life we could have shared. Did you think I wouldn't find the truth? Or that I wouldn't take matters into my own hands?" His facade cracked, and I could see the real Jake, the frightened boy who didn't know how to face the consequences of his actions. I had expected anger, but all I saw was a mask slipping away, revealing a vulnerability he had hid beneath layers of charm and deception. I didn't mean for it to get this far," he stammered, his bravado fading like a whisper. "And what exactly did you mean?" I pressed. "Was it just another game too? You? Another opportunity to play both sides?" My voice was sharp, each word slicing through the remnants of the love I thought we shared. "I set up those dates to expose you, but I ended up exposing myself to the truth about who you really are." He opened his mouth to respond, but the silence between us felt heavy, laced with the aching realization that whatever shred of sincerity he may have had was crumbling. "I didn't want to hurt you," he finally replied, the desperation creeping back into his voice. "Too late for that," I shot back, the passion igniting a fire within me as the room began to buzz with the resonating energy of the revelation. I could sense the weight of other people's attention, their curiosity heightened by the unfolding drama. The emotional stakes had risen, and I felt strangely liberated, like a bird breaking free from its cage. With a final, piercing gaze, I turned away from him, my heart racing as I walked away. I didn't need to hear any more excuses or half-hearted apologies. The truth was laid bare, and I had done what I set out to do. There would be no reversal of roles this time. I was reclaiming my dignity. As I stepped outside the bar, the cool night air hit me like a bomb, washing away the remnants of my turmoil. I savored the sensation of the rain slowly beginning to fall, each drop mingling with my tears, creating a cathartic release. Beneath the stormy sky, I found clarity in the chaos. I had chosen to confront my own vulnerability, and in doing so, I had reclaimed my power. In the days that followed, Jake's reactions were a cocktail of fragmented apologies and attempts to reconcile, but there was no going back. I remained steadfast in my decision.